Now at 3 o'clock, a unique perspective on masculinity in our culture. The new book, The Mask of Masculinity, argues that removing the 9 masks of masculinity may be the key to improving relationships and breaking down barriers that are holding you back.
Joining us now is best-selling author Lewis Howes. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So this book, Mask of Masculinity, in a lot of respects, this is kind of your own personal journey. You had some tough things happen to you.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, I realized that I was achieving a lot on the outer world, financial success, athletic achievements, other achievements that seemed cool, but I was definitely suffering on the inside, and I didn't know why. The more I was achieving, the less I was feeling good about myself. And so I started down this journey to figure out this process of maybe my false sense of masculinity that was hurting me on the inside, and it came up with these 9 masks.
Well, obviously you're we said former athlete, and you said you're always an athlete, which is so true.
Yeah.
That was definitely a mask, right?
Yep.
Being
driven as an athlete was a mask, but I could never take it off. So I was always needing to win in my relationships. I was always needing to be right in my family and business. And it's one thing to be driven to achieve as an athlete, but then with my girlfriend, if I'm always making everything a competition and making her wrong, it doesn't really help our relationship. So it's being mindful and being aware that, yes, they serve a purpose at sometimes, but not at all the times.
So basically you're saying when you get in those back and forths with your significant other that, yes, honey, yes, dear, maybe that's not a bad thing?
Exactly, yes. Finding a place of win-win as opposed to always needing to be right, yes.
Yeah. And how do you figure out if men are out there watching, and maybe even women too, because we wear masks as well. How do you know what mask you're wearing?
That's a good question. We talk about in the book, there's 9 different masks, and there's some different identities that we wear. But if we're, if we're constantly driven to make so much money to prove ourselves and our self-worth, then usually we wear a material mask. If we're always telling a joke and living with humor every single moment in the day, even during sensitive times, we might be wearing the Joker mask. So there's some different tendencies that show us what mask we wear.
Somebody that's, they may just look at the title of the book and say, this is all this whole feminization of men. This is not cool. What do you answer to that?
I would say that I get that a lot, because a lot of men are saying, well, I don't want to be demasculated, emasculated or anything like that. And I think men can still be who they want to be. They can still be masculine. They can still be rough and tough. But I think, again, it's coming to a place of, do you have a sense of peace inside? Do you have a sense of peace when you're going out with your relationships, when you're working with your coworkers, or is there constantly stress, anxiety, and tension? And if we feel this sense of anxiety and pressure all the time, then does it serve us to be this masculine archetype? And so it's just finding a way that we can balance it. How can we balance being who we are, who we want to be, but also helping lift others up and lift humanity up?
You interview so many people, and on that point, we don't have tons of time, but on that point, what are some of those tips on how to be that person?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's first evaluating every single morning a process of how do I want to show up today. So being very intentional about how I want to react in situations. We talked about LA traffic being the worst traffic in the country, right? One of the worst places. How do I want to respond when I'm driving to work today? Do I want to react when someone cuts me off like I normally do? Or do I want to have a deep breath and respond from a place of calm, understanding that it's not going to help me if I react from a negative place? So in the morning, being intentional about how you want to respond as opposed to be reactive.
Yeah, there's so many great tips. You also have another book, The School of Greatness, which is amazing as well, New York Times bestseller. Thank you so much. I was super excited about today just because I think he has such great advice, and you're a good man.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Lewis Howes, the book, Mask of Masculinity.
Yes, and you can find his book. Obviously, you can follow him too on social media, but he's also got all the information at lewishowes.com.